So it's safe to say after the Boston Celtics lost to the Milwaukee Bucks that this is probably one of the most disappointing teams in NBA playoff history. You know, when we look at the Boston Celtics history, like even the 2000 Paul Pierce teams where it was just him by himself, we're not as most disappointing as this team right here. Due to the fact that we had so much talent coming back, I dubbed this the oven bake process because with Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward coming back from their injuries, it was going to be an open floodgate for the Boston Celtics to at least reach the NBA Finals and contend for a championship. But of course, that was not the case, as we know that a lot of players couldn't accept their roles, and that's kind of the problem. It's a good problem to have, but it's also a bad problem, and that's the fact that you had so many superstars on your team that you had no idea what to do with them. Of course, you had guys like Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, who were max players. You have a guy in Jayson Tatum, who's a young sophomore player coming up after dunking on LeBron James, having a great NBA playoffs last season, coming into this season, training with Kobe Bryant, and becoming the man that we all thought he was going to be. And then you had Terry Rozier, who we thought was going to be a great backup point guard. He was going to be someone that could accept his role and someone that really could do a very good job. And I talked about this before in a video. If he would have left and went to Phoenix next season, I wouldn't have been mad because I think that he's done a lot of service for the Boston Celtics. And to me, it was either going to be Marcus Smart or it was going to be Terry Rozier of who we're going to keep as a backup point guard. But instead, like I said, the Celtics really disappointed this oven bake process. They absolutely failed. They, you know, it's a lot of bad recipe in there, and it led to what we now see where they lost to the Bucks in 5. And then it led to a lot of questions happening after the games where we had Kyrie Irving talking about whether he was disappointed by their season and would he consider re-signing with the Celtics. And he said, truth be told, it's no time to be disappointed, Kyrie Irving said. No time to be disappointed? Kyrie Irving, you probably had one of the worst shooting slumps in your career, especially in the NBA playoffs, where a lot of people dubbed you the Nightwing. I dubbed you Nightwing of the NBA because I thought you were going to be that, but instead you turned into the Vigilante, the Punisher, where you are trying to avenge for what has happened to you. And to me, when you do it that way, it's a no-go for me. I'm sorry. I love Kyrie Irving. I think he's a great player. I think that he's an amazing guy, but at the same time, the way that he handled this whole situation as wanting his own team, wanting to be the leader of the Boston Celtics, of a historic franchise with a lot of past with guys like Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, Bill Russell, John Havlicek, a lot of NBA Hall of Famers on this team. And Kyrie Irving couldn't live up to the expectations of that at all. And then, of course, you had guys like Brad Stevens who talked about he had a poor coaching job. This was one of his toughest coaching jobs of his career, and saying that he did a very poor job and that he wants to do a lot better next season. And then, of course, you had guys like Terry Rozier who talked about he doesn't give a blank. I sacrifice the most out of anybody. And this is what he goes on to say after that quote. He said, I sacrifice the most out of anybody. I'm the top point guard in this league. I'm going to need a fresh start, whether it's I'm here or whether I'm gone. So you know that Terry Rozier was very upset with how the Celtics handled this whole situation and what happened, the aftermath of losing to the Bucks in 5. The real question is going to be, who is to most blame for all of this stuff? Obviously, we have the whole team to blame because they obviously didn't live up to the expectations of what we know the Boston Celtics could be, especially when we talk about how they had all these pieces around them. Gordon Hayward, Kyrie Irving, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, a very experienced veteran in Al Horford. And they couldn't win in the Eastern Conference. They couldn't even get to the Eastern Conference Finals, which to me is a disappointing thing. And I just wish that the Boston Celtics would do something about it. I don't know whether it needs to be Danny Ainge. I don't know whether it needs to be Brad Stevens. We need to sign a leader. And that's something that we're going to have to figure out really soon, because we know that Kyrie Irving is probably going to go to New York or the Brooklyn Nets. We know that Terry Rozier is probably going to be gone as well. Even if Kyrie Irving leaves, I think Terry Rozier had a bad experience that I don't even think he wants to stay on the team, because he's, there's a lot of people with bad apples. But someone that I have to blame, and someone that I've kind of been avoiding the blame for, is Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum was a sophomore going into this year after having a great freshman campaign where he was scoring 16 points a game in the NBA playoffs, dunking on LeBron James, and really becoming the NBA superstar that we thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be an all-star this year, or possibly next year. But instead, he took a kind of a step back, and it wasn't that much of a step back during the regular season. It was more during the postseason, where he was scoring like 10 points a game for a guy that's supposed to be your second or third best player. In my opinion, probably your second best player. And the fact that he didn't even get that was just the most disappointing thing in the world, because I know Jayson Tatum can be a better player. I know that he trained with Kobe Bryant, and I think that he led training with Kobe Bryant, everything that happened last season get to his head to a point where I think he kind of overestimated what he could do, and instead of living up to the expectations that we thought he was going to have his sophomore year, instead he fell short of it, like way short. And it's just, like I said, disappointing to see that Jayson Tatum didn't take that next step that I thought he was going to take, because to me, he's a guy that really could be the next guy. And I think, like I talked about in a previous video talking about the Boston Celtics, if they were to do a rebuild with the youth, I think that he would be the perfect guy to do it. He'd be the perfect guy. Yeah, I think they rushed this oven bake process, which I dubbed it as, because it's almost similar like the Lakers. They rushed it by signing LeBron James, and we rushed it by trading for Kyrie Irving without trading for another superstar. And that's the biggest thing that also has to be blamed, because even though we couldn't trade for a superstar per se because of some salary implications in the Derrick Rose rule, at the same time, it's just disappointing to see that we couldn't do a better job of putting a great roster around Kyrie Irving, even though we have great role guys. The problem is that no one on this team accepted their role. I'm sure Marcus Morris didn't accept his role. Terry Rozier, even though he said he sacrificed a lot, I still don't think he accepted his role. Jayson Tatum didn't accept his role. Jaylen Brown didn't accept his role. And even Kyrie Irving didn't accept his role. And this, like I said, it falls on the coach as well, because he should have done a better job of managing egos. And that's what the head coach's job is there to do, to manage egos, to let everyone know that we're playing for a team, we're playing to win a championship, so we can add another banner to the Boston Celtics and get that 18th championship that the Boston Celtics history deserves. But instead, you know, it is what it is. This was a failed experiment, and we really have to look back at the Isaiah Thomas Kyrie Irving trade and saying, who really won that trade? You could say maybe it was an even trade, but at the same time, I think it's an L for both teams. Obviously, it didn't work out for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and obviously it didn't work out for the Boston Celtics, as Kyrie Irving just couldn't do what he needed to do. And the one thing that I just get kind of frustrated and sad about looking when I see all this stuff is that even to this day, even to after the playoffs, after everything has happened, one, Kyrie Irving has not accepted responsibility for his own actions, what he did to the team, and two, everyone is bickering at each other, fighting with each other. It's something that I am sick about. It's something that everybody needs to take responsibility for. Brad Stevens took responsibility for it. Where are the other players taking responsibility for it? Because to me, we fell short of what we should have done this season. And to the fact that we couldn't do it, honestly, is sad, and it's disappointing, it's frustrating, and I wish that the Boston Celtics could apologize to the fans and to apologize to one another that they've allowed themselves as egos to get so big that it leads to us wondering what is going to happen in Boston. What are the next moves? But we're going to discuss that in a different video where we do a fixer-upper. But anyway, guys, this has been your boy Bernie here on The Charge, giving the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. And guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Also remember to hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss our NBA content like we're talking about here with Boston, and also talking about the LA Lakers and their Rob Pelinka situation along with the Rambuses. Anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.